Hello students, in today's video I'll explain The Sunshine Cat by Kamla Das. The Sunshine Cat is written in confessional manner and it was published in the collection Summer in Calcutta in 1965. Confessional poetry deals with personal emotional experiences of poets and their humiliations and sufferings. And Kamla Das boldly asserts her feminine sensibility and her need of love. But unfortunately, she was subjected to lust and sexual humiliation. So the poem is autobiographical, wherein she expresses disillusionment in her pursuit of love. And her poetry is in the nature of psychic striptease, and in most of her poems, we could easily notice her yearning for love. So, basically, quest for love is the central theme in most of her poems. Now, she relates her experiences and she outpours her loneliness and disillusionment through the medium of her poems. Now, the poem is They did this to her. The men who know her, the men she loved, who loved her not enough, being selfish and a coward, the husband who neither loved nor used her, but was a ruthless watcher. So here Kamla Das says that the man whom she loved treated her badly and broke her trust. So she was expecting love and security from those men, but all she got was pain and trauma. She was married quite early in her life, and her relationship with the husband was hollow. It was not a happy married life, and she speaks candidly about extramarital affairs. So, in doing it, one may not term her as obscene or as if propagating adultery. She was actually in need of love like any other woman. She says that she came in contact with many person in order to get love and security, but they all were same, and they never reciprocated her love but used her consistently. And even her husband has been called as a ruthless watcher. Maybe he was aware of her mental condition, but he never offered any help and threw her in the pool of tears. And about other men, she says that they were coward. Why? Because they were afraid to be caught with other women. So maybe due to societal pressure, they were willing to hide the extramarital affair. But quite opposite, for their own enjoyment, they kept coming to Kamla Das. They all were selfish, as she says, only concerned about sexual intercourse and never paid any heed to the poetess' feelings. Okay, and the result was frustration. So Kamla Das is, of course, a modern Indian woman poetess, for she frankly speaks of what women wants. And the band of cynics she turned to, clinging to their chests, where new hair sprouted like great winged moths, burrowing her face into their smells and their young lusts to forget. Now, the band of cynics were the men who used her brutally and crushed her desires. Okay, they all were similar, like her husband. Now, cling means to hold tightly. She clung to their chests and hid her face in order to forget, like a moth which burrows itself. Basically, a moth is a kind of insect, and the word burrow has been used in reference to small animals like rat who dig the earth in order to hide themselves. So the imagery has been depicted here, it shows deep psychological trauma of the poetess, and she expresses her desire to forget the pain. They all simply said they all simply actually they say that because they simply told her that they can't reciprocate the love. So, all this trauma, all this desire, she needed to forget it. She needed love, but what she got was only rejection and deceit. She says, face into their smells and their young lusts to forget. So, in with these lines, she emphasizes that she really need to forget that. To forget, oh, to forget. And they said, each of them, I do not love. I cannot love. It is not in my nature to love, but I can be kind to you. They let her slide from pegs of sanity into a bed made soft with tears. So, what those men say? They all simply said it was not in their nature to love. They could help her, they could be kind to her, but not love her. So, but all of them never hesitated to indulge sexually with her and afterwards left her alone. Now, according to Srinivas Iyengar, he comments on Kamla Das' feminine sensibility and he says that Kamla Das's is a fiercely feminine sensibility that dares without inhibitions to articulate the hurts it has received in an intensely largely man made world. Okay, so she never shuns away from talking about her extramarital affairs and her failure to find a satisfactory relationship. And to talk about women's desires and her inner feelings are always considered as a taboo. Okay, but in Kamla Das, she boldly asserts her needs. So Kamlada says that she wants to forget about her relationships, about all the failed relationships, and about her pain, for it only brings tears to her eyes. And she emphasizes on the word forget, okay, because she knows that it would lead to nothing. But no one was willing to, because no one was willing to accept her. And all those men were only interested in performing the sexual act. And she says that gradually what happened was in eventually she was depressed, she became anxious, as she says, slide from pegs of sanity. So this is actually destiny. This is lot of many women around the world. Many of them fail to seek a healthy and balanced marital life and unfortunately are trapped in the conventional scenario, in the conventional bondings that seize their freedom. So it becomes essential to outpour the inner turmoil in order to stay at peace. Okay, so shedding tears was the only option left for her, and she used to cry for the whole day until her bed was wet with tears. She says they let her slide from pecks of sanity into a bed made soft with tears. So with these lines, she emphasizes that she used to cry a lot until her bed became wet with tears. So the intensity of a tumultuous mental state is rendered visible in these lines when she says that even sleep, she says that even she was not able to sleep properly, as she says, and she lay there weeping, for sleep had lost its use. I shall build walls with tears, she said, walls to shut me in. Her husband shut her in every morning, locked her in a room of books. Okay, so she says that even the sleep lost its use. It would be difficult to imagine the torture and agony through which she was undergoing when even sleep failed to heal her. Dejected and disappointed, she wanted to cut herself from the outer world. And she says that I shall build walls with tears so that no one could pierce it. In other words, she means that she won't engage in further relationships because the end is always disastrous, and she is always left alone, weeping and tormenting by herself. Of course, her husband was never concerned about her deteriorating mental state, and he never worried about her needs. He left her weeping in the company of books, locked her in a room of books, with a streak of sunshine lying near the door like a yellow cat to keep her company. But soon winter came, and one day, while locking her in, he noticed that the cat of sunshine was only a lying. Okay, so she says that her husband left her alone in the company of books, and and a ray of sunshine to find peace and solace. And indeed, in the company of books, she became one of the greatest Indian English poet. Okay, one of the greatest Indian English women poet. So here the phrase ray of sunshine, okay, this can also refer to hope of finding, you could say, of finding love and security once again one day. So initially Kamla Das was maybe hopeful to find true love, but eventually when all her dreams were shattered, at that time, she realized that no, true love was never to be found. And slowly and gradually, she became dejected. She lost all her hopes and she became sad. So, as she says, but soon winter or the old age came, and with old age, her beauty was withered. And now she was of no use to any men. She became cold and half dead, or in other words, she lost her charm and innocence and was devoid of any outer responses. So she says, one day while locking her in, he noticed that the cat of sunshine was only a line, a half thin line, and in the evening, when he returned to take her out, she was a cold and half dead woman, now of no use at all to men. When he returned to take her out, now this here he stands for the husband. Okay, when the husband returned back, he noticed the half dead woman unfit for sexual purposes or any other performances, and her poetry, you could say, mirrors her life in all its nakedness. And basically she writes for therapeutic purpose. So the Sunshine Cat, the poem depicts poignantly her struggles and ultimately her disintegrating mental state. How a woman is subjected to suffering when she demands for love. Okay. I hope the poem is clear and you have understood the hidden meaning of the poem. And of course, you won't judge her for her frank expression. Okay. That's all for today. Thank you.